Hey, how we doing? Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks. We've had some just some problems here on the home front for both of us a little bit with getting the podcast started. But I am here, Gibbles, with my co-host Kula,
Was
and we've got a pretty good. A lot of stuff's happened, right? We've had 2 weeks of just a lot of stuff's happening. So
and
we
oddly,
got
not a lot has happened at the same time. It feels like
yeah.
we were looking over news stuff for the last 2 weeks, and it was like, is there really that much to talk? Like, some of it's big, right? There's some big stuff, but like, there's not nearly as much as you'd expect after being gone for 2 weeks.
It's just a lot of drama, and we don't really cover a lot of the drama, right?
Yeah.
Like we could sit here and be like, so let's talk about the political stuff about Sweet Baby Inc., but we don't really do that, and I don't really want to either. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy at PAX East. We're going to be talking about Critical Role's new RPG out in open beta right now, Daggerheart, as well as some pretty big updates in two different kind of survival games that are a lot of people are talking about the new updates.
I mean, technically 3 big updates, right? I mean, it's not an actual update to the game, but it's an update to the future of the game.
Oh yeah.
So definitely some big stuff going on. But we'll start where we normally start, which is Final Fantasy, where we got our start in this podcast. PAX East was a few weeks ago, and we got some big announcements. So we're looking at an official release date of 7/2 of 2024, and an early release a week before on the 28th. Pre-orders have already started. If you haven't gotten yours yet, please make sure you take the time to do so. For those who have not leveled up their characters beyond level 90 or level 80, I guess, and still have the expansion, the pre-order from last expansion, you're good until you get to level 80, and then you'll want to get the pre-release for that 90 bonus. It's the same percentage though. It's 30% on that pre-order bonus. So pre-order bonus has the Zidane minion from Final Fantasy IX, and a catch-up earring of 30% for characters under level 90. That will cover level 91 or level 90 to 91. That is kind of the perk of that earring. So just take note of that when Dawnshell drops. That earring will still be good for one more level. Collector's editions are being split into a digital collector's edition and physical collector's edition. I think it's pretty common from pretty much all aspects of the expansion, so nothing new here. This is what we've come to expect. The digital collectors will include the arc mount, which is I can't remember what the name of the boss is, but it's the forward and back boss, just reskinned. The Chocobo brush for the Pictomancer, and a wind-up garnet, which is also from Final Fantasy IX. Couple big pieces. They spoke pretty handily on refining multiplayer gameplay and bringing more large-scale duties, and striving to fulfill striving for more fulfilling game experience with improved rewards and to change up the minimum. They did change up the minimum specs from what they had originally announced. They did announce why they did this. So originally they had said a Core i7 6700. They're now moving to the Core i7 7700 because of the Windows no longer supporting the 6700. They figured they would move up to a supported processor. The crossover event is happening. It's already going. It's been going since the 2nd. It runs until May 8th. I will bring up a little bit of that. Give me 1 second. Maneuver here. There we go. Go back up to the top. It's a pretty fun event. I've done it on one of my characters. I need to go through and do it on my other. But it's got a nice trial for those who are unfamiliar with how these work. They generally do a trial and a couple of quests. You get the armor set, which is shown right here, which looks pretty cool. I haven't tried dyeing it yet, so I don't know what its dye plate looks like. I'm guessing it's probably the red is what dyes on the chest and the hands.
I've heard the dye is really bad. Like, people don't like it.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
And then you get the minion and the mount. And then there are cards as well as orchestrations. Take note, these orchestrations are 20k MGP a piece. So they are a bit of a hefty price. So if you don't have enough MGP, my recommendation is to do your dailies inside of the Golden Saucer and attempt to get that done. But yeah, all in all, I think it was a pretty good event. I had a good time with it. The kind of, I don't want to call it a gimmick, but the special movement thing that they did in this one, like they did in 15, was pretty cool. I did enjoy doing, or yeah, in 15, I did enjoy doing that. That was pretty fun.
I mean, I'd kind of enjoy it as just an actual duty action in an actual fight.
Yeah, that would be pretty fun.
But everyone knows that the best thing about this entire crossover is that you can pet Torgal. So
Yeah, I mean, you have to. It's puppy Torval has to be pet.
no, the mount,
see.
the mount action is pet. You pet him.
Oh, nice. That's cool too. I haven't actually jumped on the mount yet, so
Yeah.
I haven't been able to see it. They spoke about changes to some of the gameplay as well for 7.0. There was a hint. I was looking back at this. There was a hint at the change to melee positionals. It hasn't really been officially announced yet, but I think that if we see a change, and this is my candid opinion, if we see a change to getting rid of melee positionals, we'll start seeing boss positionals a little bit more.
I'm 90% certain Yoshi P at PAX East said no more positionals. I think he outright said they're gone.
Yeah, we'll have to take I'll have to look back again, because when I was looking at it, it looked like he had said something along the lines of they were making changes to positionals, but that they hadn't said that they were outright rocking them out, which is fine. Like either or, like if they get rid of positionals, I still think we're gonna see a harder call on tank positioning of the boss, not positionals, but like where the tank tanks it, in order to keep the party safe, more so now than in previous fights, especially in savage fights. So that'll be interesting to see coming out in the future.
We might be see a shrinking of hitboxes too.
Yeah,
with positionals gone, since they blew them up in the last raid tier.
Yeah, they blew them up because they needed to make sure people were able to hit positionals while attempting to do mechanics for uptime. Yeah, it was definitely an uptime issue. Let's see. Other updates to games. We can talk about the Pal World update. Gibbles, if you want to speak on that.
Oh, wow, this is a lot. I'm just going to read the patch notes. It is big. Nice. Big. So one thing, Power World is 10% off right now, by the way, and it's already a cheap game. I mean, like it's $30. It's only $5 off, right? It's $27 or $3 off, I guess. But if you've played Power World, you know there's a few issues that you wish could be fixed. Like one, you wish that you could stop your freaking Anubis from going and mining, and you want him to continue crafting. It's doable now. That's one of the updates. You can change all. You can go into. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me just read down. Implemented first raid boss. There's raid bosses now. You can create a summoning altar using slabs at the new summoning altar item at your base. You can summon a raid boss. The raid boss cannot be captured, but after defeating the boss, it will drop Pal eggs. They also added the ability for Pal eggs to drop Alpha Pals as well. Have a rare chance. Your entire Pal, every single Pal at your base is used for the raid. So you might want to just clear out one of your bases and just have it designed to be a raid boss base. The extreme version of the raid boss is incredibly powerful and difficult to defeat. Maybe just put a bunch of machine guns out. I'm going to be going back and playing it a little bit too. They added some training manuals that let you increase Pal XP. So a lot of this, I'm going to take this section right here. A lot of this is like kind of pulling some things from Pokemon that weren't in the game, as in like the bottle caps or the items that you can usually buy to like increase strength and defense and a special attack. They added those types of items in the game called Power Fruit, Life Fruit, and Stout Fruit. They'll boost PAL stats when used. You can also there's also ability glasses, which are a new equip item, which will allow you to see PAL stats. And they've done a lot of things to focus on PAL stats, especially since the way breeding has worked in the game is that breeding for stats has been just don't do it. It's already so wonky to breed just specifically for like the passives. Just focus on focus on the passives. It's much better to do that than also breeding for the stats. But it seems like they're adding a lot of things of like you can see the stats before you catch the PAL. You can increase stats naturally. They made it easier to condense PALs. Um, there's a lot. They also added a passive called Mercy Hit. So how many times have you been trying to catch a PAL and your PAL that you have out kills it and you just didn't call it back in time and you're super mad? Well, now this passive Mercy Hit, that PAL cannot drop an enemy below 1 HP when attacking. There's also a new item that you can equip that makes it so you cannot reduce an enemy HP below 1 when attacking. So it very much fixed like the furious thing of just killing all the enemies you have. They added new armor as well, the multi-climate shirt. So now you only need one shirt. You don't need to swap between your cold shirt, your hot shirt, wear like this special cold shirt and this heat armor in order to perfectly balance your heat. Now you have one undershirt you can wear and it covers the entire heat range. They also changed some of the base heat stats for some of the armor. So like heat armor at night shouldn't really automatically make you start getting cold and dying. They added an electric egg incubator, so incubating eggs is faster. And here's one of my favorites: they added an ore mining site. So now any base can just pump out ore. You don't need that one very specific ore base on the top of that mountain, and all your friends stole it from you before you could get there. They added now there's an ore mining site, so any base can do that. They added this right here is one of my favorites. Kelpsy can now drop PAL fluids. Domwood can drop PAL oil at the ranch, by the way. So you can now get some of the hardest, like most annoying materials that you had to farm them constantly. You can now farm them at your base, which is great. There's like a couple like increased weight carry from one PAL, increased ore drop from Astagon. Now that's the condensed thing. Negative PAL statuses now go away over time inside the PAL box. So if you don't want to like give medicine constantly to your depressed PALs, just throw them in the PAL box and then eventually they'll be good. They also added an actual healing item finally to the game. There wasn't one. You just had to rely on natural regen. They finally added a way to like actually heal, like a potion kind of thing. I don't remember what it's called, a recovery med. Here's some more stuff. While aiming a PAL sphere, it will now display how many of that PAL you've already captured before you even try to catch it. Equipment and item stats are now visible on the technology screen before you've even unlocked it. They made updates to the tutorial quest, and you can now hide it. Damage number size can now be changed. Added some other things for like AoE stuff. Base related. Here's some of the big things. So you can now, I mentioned this earlier, you can now allow and disallow certain work for base pals. So that like Anubis that won't stop mining and you need it to craft, you can now disallow it in the monitor stand. Chest filters have been added, which means you can lock chests to only specific items. So now your pals can't just always just dump everything into one chest. Now they have to, you can lock chests so you can be better organized, which is huge. Another one, crafted items are now transported from crafting facilities by selecting the allow transport when crafting, which will allow pals to then, if you just craft a bunch of stuff and you don't want to have to go pick it up, your pals will now carry it to the next station, to the chest for you. They added a appearance changing station called an antique dresser, which so you can change your appearance at any place. added some reduced building restrictions and added more building abilities. You can force a pal to cancel their break, which is nice. And then there's balancing issues where they made the incubator work a little bit better. Changed the pattern for your Ignis to be something more unique. They added some legendary blueprints for some firearms, which is nice. I kind of wanted to try and get the single shot rifle as a legendary blueprint, but they only had the assault rifle, so I'm excited for that. And then they reduced the amount of damage that so pals that increase your damage when you're riding them, they reduce that damage multiplier from 2 times to 1.2. And then they adjusted the shop price adjustments. Other than that, it's a bunch of bug fixes, but it was a big update. Without the raid boss, this would have been a big update. The raid boss itself could have been a big update. It's a lot. I know you haven't played Pal World. Do you have any plans to? Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm muted. I'm muted. I haven't played it yet, but I do. I don't know if I have plans to play it yet. It feels like, and this is like a bad comparison from like a game perspective, but it feels very like No Man's Sky. It was like some people really loved it at the beginning, or some people didn't really like it and kind of grew into it. So I'm wondering if like the stuff that they add might make it, a little more bearable for me to play. I was having a hard time with it and just wasn't really having a ton of fun. And that might just be like, I've been a primarily controller player. It was a lot harder to play on controller than it was on keyboard mouse, but I played on controller. I didn't put a ton of time into it, so I had a lot of other things on my backlog that I wanted to play, so that's been kind of the other issue. But yeah, it all looks like really good quality of life stuff that the game probably is going to feel a lot better, and for those that have been playing for a while and for wanting to get new players in, it might entice a few new players to get on and start playing again. It was interesting to see the kind of like upward trajectory and then just pit as like people stopped playing it. So it's it'll be interesting to see if it can continue.
It's still maintained a decent size player base, and like considering the size of the company that created it, the fact that it's early access, the size of the game, of the early access they released, right? The reason why it fell off so fast is because people ran out of stuff to do because it's not a full game yet.
Right. In more Final Fantasy news, switching gears again on another update, we did get notice the day before we got the Final Fantasy 14 notes. We did get a Final Fantasy 16 update. They are releasing a DLC for Final Fantasy 16. It is, as most of us expected, going to be a DLC about Leviathan. So it's called The Rising Tide. It's going to be $25 to get the expansion pass. And when you buy the expansion pass, you'll also get 2 remastered songs or re-imaged songs from Final Fantasy 14. I think this is like our one little bit of Final Fantasy 14 that we're going to get into Final Fantasy 16, is the reimagined. With the Rising Tide release, base game for story and action mode will go to level 60 for max level and 110 for Final Fantasy mode. It will also give Clive some water abilities, obviously, because it'll be Leviathan. Some quality of life stuff coming to the game on the same day. For those who choose not to buy the expansion pass, this will still be available to you. Is some return to quest giver immediately using a quick complete. So like when you're doing a quest in the middle of an open area and you don't want to go running all the way back, there's a quick complete that transports you right back in front of the NPC that's required to turn in.
That's nice.
New skills, new skill set feature, which allows players to save up to 5 unique feats and ability sets. So this will be nice for being able to hot swap some stuff for particular boss account encounters. New customized controller options. This goes back to our accessibility piece that we've talked about in the past. Freely being able to customize your buttons to work best for what you need is going to be great for those who struggle to touch particular buttons on their controller for whatever reason. And they've added a bunch of other orchestrations that'll be available as well. They did say that they are in the final stages of optimization of the PC version of Final Fantasy 16, and they do expect it to hopefully come out sometime before the end of the year. They didn't give an actual date on its release. So
Rising Tide does have a release date in April 18th.
Yeah,
so it's
Rising
only
Tide's
10 days.
release date is in 10 days. So that does have a release date, but the PC version does not.
Yeah. I actually didn't
so that'll be
play
fun.
Echoes of the Fallen. I need to go back and play that. There's already some stuff from the base game I needed to go back and like actually do and finish it.
I did
fully
most of
complete a
the
lot of
base
it.
game. I still need to do my Final Fantasy playthrough. I didn't do my Final Fantasy mode playthrough.
I don't remember. I played the hardest difficulty I could. I don't remember if I played Final Fantasy mode.
You wouldn't have been able to play Final Fantasy mode until you beat the game. It's the second
That's
playthrough mode.
That's right. So I might just go back through and do a Final Fantasy playthrough to get all the extra stuff I hadn't done, and then I can go through Echoes of the Fallen and Rising Tide probably.
Yeah, I played story mode to start because I wanted to get a good like story vibe. I wanted to really enjoy the story, and so I did that. And then I flipped over and I was starting my Final Fantasy mode game, and it was pretty fun. I was having a good time.
I need to play the hardest difficulty always.
On our final update of video game updates, we have the big Stardew Valley update that came out late last month. This was a pretty big deal. I think this is kind of Concerned Ape's first big update since taking the game back from the developers that he had working on it. So it was a pretty historic piece that people were kind of anticipating and waiting for. I'm not going to dive into every single bit of this because I haven't played enough Stardew Valley to be able to give it justice to talk about what it was previously. But they added a new Meadowlands farm type, which it caters to people who love animals. It'll start you off with more chicken coops and 2 chickens, along with bluegrass for them to eat. It adds a mastery system accessed via a new area, which grants powerful perks and items. It added new festivals and events, and you can now have up to 8 players on a PC edition of multiplayer, which is really cool. That's a lot of people to be able to play. World map now shows your actual position within the world as opposed to just a generalized area position. And you can now have multiple pets as opposed to just 1 cat or 1 dog. There's even a turtle. There is gender-specific clothing variants that can now be worn by any gender, so they're kind of opening this up a little bit, which is really good. NPCs now shove chests out of their way instead of destroying them, which is kind of a nice quality of life, because that was kind of a big deal. There's an animal catalog that lets you access a marine's shop without needing her to be there, so you can buy animals. And the biggest update is you can now drink mayonnaise. This is hilarious to me. The drinking mayonnaise thing is really funny because there's mayonnaise is such a weird thing in a lot of stuff. Like D&D, mayonnaise is like a pretty regular item. It's if any of you are familiar with the magic jug, it does allow you to summon mayonnaise as part of its as one of its categorized items, and it is in the DMG that mayonnaise is an available item to summon. The funniest, I think they did this in speaking with on something that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Critical Role, their first season, Grog drank an entire vat of mayonnaise.
No, he had that jug, and
he
sat
there and he ate mayonnaise.
Yeah, and they're calling him the saddest Pooh Bear.
Yeah,
They said
and
you're just sitting there like Pooh Bear, just eating mayonnaise.
Yeah, and that's I think that was like what kind of drew people to be like, oh yeah, if we forgot that the magic jug actually allows you to eat mayonnaise, or actually produce mayonnaise, like one of the weirdest things they ask you to they allow you to produce of all the items that can be produced. So it was just funny that kind of worked out that way. But yeah, so that's the Stardew Valley update. Kind of exciting. I'm actually planning on getting back into Stardew Valley with the wife at some point, so that'll be something that we will be able to do. Let's see. What do we have? What else do we have?
I mean, like they added a new like farmland, which is cool, and like this new areas unlocked on like the island, and then I'm looking at the patch notes, and it's like added new items, and it's like 50 new items.
Yeah, it's a lot. They did add quite a bit. It's like they added a bunch of items.
24 new wallpapers, 41 new floor styles, 25 new hats, 280 new furnitures.
Yep. Yeah, it was a lot. There's a lot of stuff that got put into this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the same vein as talking about Critical Role.
Although I actually wanted to. Oh yeah, no. We have another thing after the Critical Role. Forgot. So yeah. Daggerheart.
Daggerheart, yeah. So Critical Role publishes Daggerheart. It's their answer to D&D, and it feels interesting. From what I've seen, hey Rusty. From what I have, what I've looked at a little bit, I haven't done too much work in, diving in on this. It does definitely feel pretty interesting of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. It's they did kind of hint that this was coming a while ago, back when we had the DMC stuff, or not DMC, the licensing stuff with Dungeons and Dragons. So when Hasbro released their 2.0, where they were kind of locking things back, Critical Role had kind of made a mention that they had a in the works RPG that they were trying to get ready to release. They've played it once. I haven't been able to watch it. I need to go back and watch it. I want to see how it kind of plays in an actual session. One of the biggest changes is it moves away from a D20 system to a dual D12 system. It's interesting.
It does look like they're creating their own type of D&D Beyond, as its like main release component.
Yeah,
which is pretty interesting. But it's not just 2D12s, which I think is really interesting. They've also said that there's a card system that goes along with it.
Yeah, they're utilizing cards for placing abilities and spells and domains and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see how well this will do. Critical Role's always been very successful in pretty much anything that they've touched and done. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of shakes in the long run of things, and see if it it does as they expect. So
the hope and fear die mechanic really feels like Vampire the Masquerade-ish, I guess. Like right. the D12s, or like and more, I guess, like kind of like Insanity in Call of Cthulhu, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting.
So,
Maybe I'll look into this and try to make a one shot for it.
Do a one shot? Yeah, that'd be fun. We'll get some people in and do a one shot of it and kind of go over what they're doing. And it's interesting. Like, I've played a couple of other tabletop things that have come out. So like anybody who knows Savage Worlds, that's a pretty prominent tabletop. Obviously a Pathfinder, which is very D&D, D20 system. Yeah, the Savage Worlds one is a little bit different. They don't do like a straight dice for everybody for everything. You build up your dice rolls for whatever stat you're trying to build. So like your stealth rolls start at a D4 and you upgrade them to a D6 and then a D8 and the D, like so on and so forth. And so like that one's pretty fun. I've done a couple of those sessions before.
I've heard of a similar system where everyone's D6s, and then depending on how good you are at the stat, you add more D6s.
Yeah, and then Savage World uses an explosion system. So if you cap the dice, so let's say it's a D8 and you roll an 8, you explode that dice and get to roll it again. So kind of an interesting system to kind of go through, and their combat's a little different. But yeah, so it's it'll be interesting to see how well this takes. It's been pretty, people have been kind of talking about it. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it because tabletop's kind of died off a little bit after the 2.0 stuff. So, but yeah, so in connection to D&D, we'll cap tonight's conversation with what I consider to be one of the biggest pieces of news in video games to hit in a while. Gibbles?
So if you're a Baldur's Gate 3 fan, this is a couple weeks old that they announced this, but I'm sorry, they've said they're not doing any DLC or work on a sequel. They were, especially after the boom of Baldur's Gate 3, they were very much in like, let's make another one, and we got to make DLC now, and they started working on it. But internally, they already had a plan for another video game, and they kind of didn't have the drive to push the DLC. They kept on. They were like an ADD kid, just constantly like, but I want to do that.
I want to do something different. I don't like this anymore.
So, they're like, no, we love Baldur's Gate 3. We want to push the DLC. It's gonna be great, but it felt more like a like something that was just like, well, now we have to do this versus what they wanted to do. So Larian decided to make I think the right decision, as much as it sucks to not get Baldur's Gate 3 DLC, to focus on what their team was passionate on, and to actually work on something that they all had the drive to do, which was their new video game project. I was looking for the name of, because I think they had said it.
Yeah, I would be interested to see if they actually announce what the name of it is this early.
Well, they had like a potential like name of it, I think. Yeah, I can't find it. Yeah, that's essentially what it came down to. They were super excited about it, but and like the game did great, but they just kind of had other things they wanted to work on. That being said, they are dwarf. Oh, that's the new project will. Oh, no, sorry, the new project will dwarf. Sorry. He neither confirmed nor denied that it was another Divinity Original Sin 3.
I forgot this was the team that did that game.
Yep. But yeah, they said that they're still going to support the game, just not create DLC or Baldur's Gate 4. At least
I think that's
now.
a shame, honestly.
Yeah, so there's still going to be mod support coming through, and they're still releasing things like I think they have like 4 new evil endings that they're still working on putting through and finishing, as well as a few other quality of life and other things. They will be patching the game and supporting it. They just won't be releasing any DLC, which yeah, is a shame, especially they left it at level 12 too. It really left open for like potentially like 4 different DLCs.
Left it open for like expectations of DLC for sure. Yeah, because it's like, I don't know.
That being said, yeah, I think I could have seen it really hard to balance the game had they let it go to 20.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but I mean at the same point, it's like I'm kind of surprised that Wizards isn't pushing for more on it, since it's the D&D offshoot.
I mean, they can, but I mean, if it wasn't in the original contract, then like screw them.
Yeah, no, I mean, right. I get that, but like this game did so well. Yeah, and you would think that like a game developer would want to do more for its community on a game that like people have been playing like 5 and 6 times over, to try to get the different endings, to try to get the different play styles. It just, it feels, in my opinion, disingenuous to the audience to play a game like BG3 where you're not seeing the full capabilities of a pre-built system that's already there, right? And you're walking away at level 12. Like, yeah, I get that, like, balancing at level 20 would have been hard and whatnot, but like it definitely feels like a situation where the game kind of mimics IRL D&D groups of like, okay, well, we did a thing and I could do another story, but I don't really want to, so we're disbanding the group. Done. Like, it just feels kind of disingenuous to be like riding on that high from a development standpoint and just be like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're doing something else. We're working on something bigger. You know?
I mean, like, at the same time, you can think about it that way, but you can also think about, like, do you want DLC from a company whose heart's not in it, right? Like, do you want Larian, super passionate, worked 10 years making Baldur's Gate 3, and then do you want Activision making the DLC?
Right, I guess. I guess I could see that. I don't know. It just feels like a swing and a miss. Like
there was no DLC promised. There was no.
I think ending at level 12. I think ending at level 12 feels like a DLC promise. To be fair, when the game goes to level 20, like when the tabletop game goes to level 20. Going to level 12 feels like a DLC promise.
I mean, most tables, like the story just ends at 15, 17, 12, right around there. They usually don't, like, I think it's like maybe like 4% of all like D&D campaigns actually make it to 20.
Right. No, I get that. I'm just saying, like, it just feels bad. That's all.
Yeah. I am excited for the next thing they decide to do, and especially like if they're actually passionate about it, then it just means the next thing they're going to do is going to be great. Right.
That would be the hope.
Well, and that's why, like, we shouldn't force them to make a DLC that they're not
forcing. I'm just saying I think it's a missed opportunity. I'm not saying that they have to do it. I'm saying I think it's a missed opportunity.
Well, 100%. They thought the same thing. Because they like in the like CEO's like own words, right? Because of all the success, the obvious thing would have been to do a DLC. So we started on one, and then they even started thinking about Baldur's Gate 4, but we hadn't really had closure on Baldur's Gate 3 yet, and just to jump forward on something new felt wrong. We had also spent a whole bunch of time converting the system into a video game, and we wanted to do new things. There are a lot of constraints on making D&D in 5th edition, and 5th edition is not an easy system to put into a video game. We had all these ideas of new combat we wanted to try out, and they are not compatible. So there was just a lot of... They got to 12, but the problem, one of the big problems they were having is that, like, going on further it's a lot. It's a big ask, right?
Yeah.
15, you get big things. Right. I mean, Fighter getting a third attack is big.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like that's kind of the big deal, right? So like you've got a CEO who very like we're very proud of Baldur's Gate 3. We're not continuing it. We're not going to make a new expansion, which everybody is expecting. We're not going to make Baldur's Gate 4, which everybody is expecting. Like he's speaking in a way that, like, I don't know, like, from a business perspective, you're walking away from ample opportunity. Like, I get that it may not be something they would have been passionate about.
The problem is that you're thinking about it in the wrong order. It's not the CEO said, we made Baldur's Gate 3, we're moving on to the next project, screw the DLC or like that. No, Baldur's Gate 3 was a big hit, and they're like, let's ride this out. And they started to work on it all. And then the whole team was kind of just like, but we want to do this other thing. And so the entire company of Larian Studios decided to make that shift because they wanted to make a game that they were passionate about instead of something that they all felt like they were being forced into because it's the expected thing to make a DLC for a big game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I get it. Like, I get that it might not be something that you're passionate about, but like, I don't know. I still feel like, like sometimes you kind of have to just be like knowing that you made a great thing, and people are expecting something of you, and your community. Like, I'd like to see the data on how many people don't buy Lariat's next game because they felt slighted by no DLC. I don't think it'll be very high, but like I'd like to see that data. Like, and it'll never, like, there's no way to ever test that data. Like, there's no way to ever figure that out. But like, like you had a smashing success, people who've never touched D&D before touching this game to try to get into D&D, and like to not ride that high of like a great successful game and try to give people more of what they were of what, you know, what they did with that. It just, you know, like I said, sometimes it's nice to like, sometimes you get to do nice things and they're really fun, and then some other times it's work and you have to go to work and you have to do your work. And if like, I think that Larian is walking away from a colossal chunk of change that they could be making towards a bigger project. But that's just me.
I mean, at the same time, though, like they could release the DLC and it could bury them.
Could.
It could one get major away from them. The playtest could take forever. It took them 10 years to make the base Baldur's Gate 3.
Right, and that was the other thing is it's like
they don't have the storyboard, they don't have the voicing, they don't have any of the they don't have anything that was used that was what was made for the game, right? And it's not like we just like a lot of other games where like, oh, we just balance the same skills and just make them so they get a little bit stronger, like off of this like gradient system. No, they have to take in like even harder balancing questions, right? Especially if they get to like 17, 18, 19, 20, where we start getting Wish, right? Meteor Storm.
Yeah.
What are they like? Especially the casters are going to be a pain in the ass. So like each of these DLCs isn't, I feel like, the harder parts of the game. Not necessarily like you could have someone working on area design, someone working on storyboarding, someone working on and actually get these voice actors in, right? And right. That could be a hit or a miss. People, the story that everyone loved, it could be bad, and people would still play it because the system's fun and they like the rest of the game. But then the hardest part of actually building the game, of like scaling it, making abilities, making sure everything is like working well, and bug fixes, so like that's a huge ask, and it could just bury them, and they won't release another. They'll release a DLC won't make anywhere near as much as Baldur's Gate 3 or do as well, and it might take another 5 years or something, right?
Yeah, but I mean, at that point, yeah, I could see that piece of it too, because we've had a lot of studios struggle after trying to release a game with high expectations like that. Look at, you know, Duke Nukem Forever was an absolute bomb. Look at the Last Guardian, which was a smashing success, but took forever to release. The announcement of the original announcement for Last Guardian was forever ago. And then it released, you know, within the last 5 years. So it's
also, I think
definitely
about Bungie and the last 2 games they released. The initial game was great, and then the first DLC they released killed it.
Yeah.
Right, we'll say it wasn't the first DLC for Destiny 1; it was the second DLC.
But that's the thing is, like, this isn't a live service game. This is, you know, you play it through the story and you're done. So like, in my opinion, comparing a live service game, which has MMO type aspects to it, is kind of a disingenuous comparison, because
Destiny was designed to be kind of like an MMO anyway. So you're right on the money for that.
Right. But yeah, it was a live service MMO.
Yeah. But I mean, the other thing is that you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Larian isn't a big studio. It doesn't have a full staff. It doesn't have the capability to split its staff and be like, okay, you guys work on the DLC, you guys start working on the next game, like other studios do. And so if they put all their eggs, they're going to have to put all their eggs in one basket, no matter what. right? Do we put it all in one basket on a DLC that's one, not going to make as much money as a full game, two, is going to be way harder to actually like create and like mod and put together that we want already, um, and then three might just flop it entirely, right? And it's not a live service game, so that game just isn't making the money anyways. Continually, like new sales will make them money, but they won't get. They're not constantly making money off of Baldur's Gate. So they could pivot to a new game, a new system, a new thing that they're actually passionate about and can kind of like focus on making sure this is going to be good and great.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I can see both sides. I guess from having this discussion, I can definitely see where I think it's money left on the table. I think that I can see the development issues with pulling things like Wish and stuff like that into the game. It's a bummer, right? People were kind of expecting it, given that the game capped out at a very at a reasonably low level. Not like low, but like level 12 is, when you expect a game to kind of be, it takes as long as the game takes. But
that's when D&D starts getting fun, right? Like
right.
Some people really like the low level stuff, but when you start getting into 12 like to 15, this is where you like start feeling like, yeah, I'm a hero. Let's go. Where's the big
when a player builds their character, right, they're building it off of an expectation of it being at a certain point, right? And a lot of characters, when you're doing like a multi-class, you're looking at that like 12 or 13 level marker for really kind of kicking in. My mentality thinks of like Harley and what she's doing with Clint in our Friday night campaign, where it's kind of a long term before they get to where they need to be. So it's
I mean 11 and 15 I think are the two like biggest so 3, 11 and 15 I think are the biggest levels in D&D, right? 3, you get your subclasses for most classes. 11, you get like one of your besides 20, you get your biggest ability, right? Like paladins get the I can't remember what it's called, Forever Smite, where every hit applies an extra D8 smite.
Yeah.
Right. You got rogues at 11 get the I can't think of any of the names of these abilities, right? But 11 you get you get the ability to never fail an ability check as long as you're proficient. It's luck. Always a minimum. Yeah. Well, it's a minimum of 10 for a rogue.
Yeah. Oh, it's I know which one you're talking about. A reliable talent.
Yeah. Anything that you have a proficiency in, any roll of the die can be treated as a any roll of the die between 1 and 10 is a minimum of 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Right, I think is it 11? Yeah, it's 11 when fighters get third attack, which is huge. Right, 11 is just such a big point in the game, and then like we have one more level after that, and then it peters out. So.
Yep. So it's like I said, it's I can see both sides. I think it's I'd like to see more. They've got kind of a good baseline kind of built, and so I think they could expand on it. And I think that part of me is saying like, yeah, it could be a dud, but like let's look at Larian's track record, right?
Well, I mean, while you're doing that, I mean, like the biggest thing I can think of, right, is that they're working on mod support, right? I think they're looking to the community to grow this game, right? Make it the new Skyrim. Where like the base game's good, the DLCs were added some pretty good stuff, right? I would love for them to make what was it, home hearth. What there was one of the DLCs for Skyrim. All it did was add like house building and housing, like that. That'd be awesome if they had that.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. All right, so let's run down their track record, right? So we've got Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3, we have Divinity Original Sin 2, we have Divinity Original Sin, Divinity Dragon Commander, Divinity 2 Dragon Knight Saga, Divinity 2 Ergos Draconis, KNet Kicks looks like a kids game based upon a TV show. Beyond Divinity, Divinity Divine, LED Wars. I'm not sure how far that goes back, and then Divinity Fallen Heroes. So lots of tabletop style experience. So it to me kind of, let me see what this is. Yeah, so this is basically, this LED Warriors is a real-time strategy game that they made forever ago. I don't have any information on it. I just have a couple photos, but like all these divine divinities are very like D&D esque or Diablo style games. So it's like action RPG style, and they've all, you know, sounds like they've fairly done well. I mean, this is, we're at like 98, 2002, 2004, 2004, 2009, 10, 13, 14, 17. It just feels like there's a lot of good work here. And so it's like, to be like, hey, this could flop. I just, sure, it could, but I just don't think it will. Like, well, I don't think expansions would.
The next thing that they're gonna throw in, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that it's gonna be pulled away from that like RPG, TTRPG like base that they have. It could also be that. Like I said, they neither confirm nor deny it was Divinity Original Sin 3, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm not saying that like what they're working on next isn't going to be a smash hit. I'm just saying like they've got a track record to do did Divinity Original Sin 2 DLC. Are they just not doing DLC, or is there DLC in their other games?
I don't know, but as far as I know, they've never done DLC.
Oh no, they've done DLC.
Okay.
Yeah, they got an enhanced edition, and then Divine Ascension is a DLC for Divinity Original Sin 2. So yeah, okay. They've definitely done DLC in the past and have charged for it. So I think, you know, it's not uncharted waters for them, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, because they have been developing it for so long, I mean, so part of me thinks that, I wonder if because they've been developing it for so long, and we have the situation with D&D go down while they were in development of this, that they're just contractually fulfilling their requirement with Woods of the Coast and then walking away. I'm wondering if that's part of it.
So obviously, a lot of people, and I didn't mention this, a lot of people are hinting and rumoring that it's because they don't want to work with Wizards anymore. Which, I mean, to be fair, I don't blame them. Like, Hasbro and Wizards have been doing a lot of really crappy things.
Didn't Hasbro Games CEO just get booted?
I don't know, but Hasbro's been absolutely horrible, like, recently. And then, I mean, like, Wizards sent the freaking Pinkertons over, like, a box of, like, Magic cards, right? On top of their open license.
Their CEO just died.
Oh, when did that happen?
Yesterday. Oh no, this was a while ago. Never mind. Hold on, that was a while ago.
I was like,
I thought there was an article, something that was marked a day ago, but I don't know why.
I was seeing news about.
There was a guy on Twitch who had posted like, just remember today's the day to beat your boss, and Hasbro Games responded with like, we mean this in the D&D sense and not literally, and then there was like an article with him followed up being like something about like him being defeated.
Oh, I don't know. I know I had seen something about Hasbro. Hasbro has done a lot of like shady and like anti-consumerist stuff in the past. Done a lot of like some deals kind of dirty. They are very much the EA Activision of board games. But it's just because it's all board game stuff that kind of go under the radar a lot. And like the video games that they own, they've also I think I've seen things about like the video games they've worked with, I don't have any. Everything I'm saying take with a grain of salt, because I don't
Yeah.
have any of the actual articles in front of me, and I read these like weeks ago, and I'm pulling from an incomplete memory. But I remember seeing like some other stuff about Hasbro recently.
It wouldn't be surprising, honestly. Hasbro's been grasping at straws, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
besides them cutting 20% of their workforce, I forgot about that.
yeah, they've been grasping for a while. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what other people walk away from Hasbro in the future.
I mean, I feel like Wizards and Hasbro are like they really had a lot of success recently with the with D&D since what 2012 I think
Right.
was about when Critical Role started up and it boomed. It was already starting to get like a little bit of traction, but Critical Role really sent it over the top. And then we had the D&D movie, right? We had Baldur's Gate 3 drop. Everything is just coming up Wizards.
It was interesting to see some of the changes that got made when Critical Role went public on 5th edition, because like I don't know if you know the whole story about Critical Role and like that they were playing on Pathfinder before they went live.
I started watching Critical Role about halfway through campaign 1, so I started watching. I had to catch up, but when I caught up was about when they swapped.
Well, no. So they had been playing privately.
Oh,
on
that's right.
Pathfinder
They started 5th edition when they came
with
into
episode
play.
1. Yeah, on Geek
Episode
and
1
Sundry.
was actually already D&D, which is why they were in the first like 3 or 4 episodes they were having a bunch of problems, and just Percy because there's no gunslinger in
Right. So
in,
you had to
in
build
D&D.
it, which is where the building of the gunslinger for 5th edition happened. They also had some gods issues where there were like official gods in Pathfinder that were not in D&D, and Wizards asked that they did not use any gods that were in Pathfinder but weren't in D&D because it was a mixed match of god use inside their environment. So they ended up having to swap and figure out gods that would work for 5th edition. Like there was a lot of stuff that like once the things kind of started hitting the ground running that they ended up getting changed. So
That's really interesting. I didn't know about that, but that's really interesting, especially because it's an original. It's not
original
Sword,
campaign.
it's not Sword Coast, right?
Right.
So
But
that's an
it's
interesting thing.
because the gods that were picked were official Pathfinder gods. They wanted to move off of them. So like Pike's god, I can't remember who Pike's god was before. Critical Role.
Oh, I can't even think of her like second god. Her actual one that's in the actual thing. It's the goddess of light.
Yeah, she was, her god was stop. Okay. Faithful goddess Serene.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
I think she stuck with it the whole time though. I don't know if she did a god.
did. Let me see.
Saren
if
Ray.
this
That's
was,
what,
yeah, Saren Ray.
Saren Ray. That's what she called it. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, and that's what it was. So they ended up letting her stick with it, but they asked them not to do it in the second campaign because Saren Ray was a Pathfinder god. It was official Pathfinder god.
I mean, like, I don't know. That's funky. I don't know.
They brought her back in the Wildmount expansion as Rainai, and she was known exclusively by the Everlight title.
Yeah. Okay, because I haven't watched campaign 3, but I know I've watched like a little bit of it. But campaign 3 I know has a lot of a lot of campaign 1 cameos. So I was wondering if like Pike showed up, how that would work.
Right.
But I know we've seen Percy and Vexalia in campaign 3, and
Right.
Keyleth. Those are the names.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Again, this is, it does make me wonder if a lot of the reason why Lariat is not doing a DLC is because they want to distance themselves from Hasbro, or from Wizards of the Coast.
I could 100% see that, and I mean I see, like everyone and their mother is making new. If you have any kind of like following and any kind of like larger standing in D&D, in social media and stuff like that, when the whole open source drama went on, every single one of them announced, we're making our own.
Yeah, we're doing something different. We're transitioning, or we're making our own.
Yeah, go look at our Kick. Yeah, we're not Kick, but Kickstarter. That's what I mean. But like, go support it, right? Like, MCDM was releasing one. I think they announced it. They have we have the Darien Press, or Darrington Press was announced before their D&D adjacent game for Daggerheart, but it was I wonder if they had already had plans for it at all, because of like the previous encounters where like Wizards would dictate how they could play their game on at all, or if it was actually like a hipfire thing when the open source fiasco went down.
Maybe. I don't know. It'll be, and I'm wondering if that's, I think that's the easy move, right? You made a good game, your contract is fulfilled, you have no, additional contract to do DLC, you could, at your own expense to, and working with Wizards to do it again, to do more of it, but it's like, why? Like, why would you, right? You made a good game and you're ready to move on to something else, and let's, you go off and do that. So I think that's definitely probably the mindset, is that like they've fulfilled their contract, they've done what they need to, and now they're just moving on.
Yeah, I think that's probably why, and I do not blame them for I was in my brain and in my head I was thinking like cutting ties with your deal with the devil kind of thing. Like, I made the deal with the devil. I
10 years ago it was a different mentality. 10 years ago, D&D was doing well, and it was something people were proud to be a part of, and now it's, with all the acquisitions that Wizards of the Coast has done, and kind of the way they've treated their fan base, it's, it's understandable to want to move away from that.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering how well, especially in the next few years, with D&D falling off of popularity as much as it has. That's just the natural trend, right? It boomed, and now it's like petering out a little bit. It'll boom again in another like 20 years, whatever. But I wonder if, because of their actions that they've taken somewhat recently, I know one D&D, like some people are excited for it, but like some of the changes don't seem like they're going that well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Hasbro double backs on their like, oh, we're not gonna do that mentality on the licensing thing, and how well D&D 1 does if it continues to to be a prosperous tabletop.
I could see, so like in the 90s we had D&D was dead, right? If you were like it was
well,
seen as
second edition was something that had been like running for forever, right? I mean, like my dad in high school was playing first edition, and then they moved into second edition when he went to college, and then there was no update to D&D past second edition until mid 90s when they released 3 and 3.5.
Yeah, but this is this is all secondhand knowledge, right? But in the 90s, it was if you were in the TTRPG scene, right? D&D was seen as the kids' game, right? Oh, you're playing D&D? What are you, a kid? I'm gonna be over here playing my Vampire the Masquerade, okay? Like it was there was a weird like kind of not necessarily a renaissance, but like a there was a big boom of moving away to more contemporary games and different. This is where a lot of other TTRPGs took like some kind of hold, right? That you can like hear
Right.
about, like Call of Cthulhu, Vampire the Masquerade. Those are the only two I can think of right now, and I mentioned them earlier. But like there's a lot of other ones, right? And they started taking like some ground back from D&D as being like the big one, and D&D didn't really claw back from that. Even in 3.5, it was still not.
Yeah.
It was still good, and 4 weakened its hold even more because a lot of people don't like 4. 5 was okay. You got a lot of it's very new player friendly, so it got a lot of newer players into it a little bit easier as well. And it wasn't until Critical Role in like 20, I think it was 2012. No,
2014
no,
is when
2014.
5th edition came in.
Yeah, no,
So
I was
timelines
was
for
like
D&D,
2015, I think 2016.
maybe. So timelines for D&D, our original release was 74. AD&D first edition was 77. Second edition was 89. Third edition was 2000. Fourth edition was 2008, and then fifth edition was 2014.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2015, 2016 was the big D&D boom, because March 2015 was the start of Critical Role. So I'm gonna say like 2016 is probably that was probably
end of 2015, early 2016 when Critical Role really got its gears moving.
Yeah.
And then Geek and Sundry went under, and Critical Role went off and did its own thing.
Yeah, I mean, Geek and Sundry, I don't know how much other stuff they had that was like doing well. I think one of the biggest problems that Geek and Sundry had is that it was like it tried to go and make its own thing, right? Like it's the same problem that it's one of the big problems that like Rooster Teeth had, right? They were trying to make their own website their main thing. Geek and Sundry went a little too hard on that, I feel like.
Right.
Because I remember they had other stuff, like it was was it Board Games with Will Wheaton? What was that called?
Oh, it was Miniatures. Or
Miniatures,
not Will Wheaton.
sorry.
It was miniature painting with not Will Wheaton. It was something else.
Well, Will Wheaton had a show that they had.
Yeah, they had. Let's see. Meta Dating. They had Dark Horse Motion Comics. They had let's see, Felicity Day had Felicity's Arc. They had Tabletop with Will Wheaton. A lot more board games explained briefly by Will Wheaton.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, and then they had Critical Role, and they had a lot of stuff with the Critical Role cast. So like Signal Boost was run by Marisha. Worthy Opponents was run by Matt.
I feel like Signal Boost was the only other one that they had that actually had some success.
Yeah,
I feel like everything else was.
There was another one for a Critical Role, but I'm not gonna discuss it because of particular issues.
Their talk show. That's what we'll say.
Yeah, their post talk show, and
well, and then I know they had they had some streaming that they were getting some success in. Actually, they had Final Fantasy 14 streaming going on, but that also had a problematic host.
Yeah, like they also did stuff like back end knowledge for people who don't know. I actually went to high school with the creator of 10 Candles. If you know what that tabletop is, I don't know he got anything from them for their 10 Candles series that they did. Or was even brought in on that. I don't know anything in regards to that, but they had a 10 Candles eclipse, and so it was yeah, it does feel like they had like a lot of really good success early on, and it made sense for Critical Role to kind of jump in with them, and then it made very clear sense to just walk away in 2019. Yeah. They have definitely done very, very well for themselves.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah,
apparently 10 Candles has been used in mental health care a lot, and has helped a lot of people cope with problems.
yeah,
it's really cool.
I'll actually toss a shout out to the creator. Let me see if I can shout, maybe it'll work. Shout out. See if that works.
Does he do Twitch?
Yeah, he does. He actually does Blood on the Clock Tower often enough.
Okay.
So if you're familiar with Blood on the Clock Tower, which is a great like werewolf mafia style game with a lot more rules, it's pretty fun. He does that every once in a while. He also does cozy games, but he's had 2 Kickstarters that have been very successful in board gaming. So he also sells his services as a DM to be able to run games. So you can hire him as a DM if you want. But yeah, I went to high school with Steven. Super great guy, super chill. You know, so if you're not following him, take the time, jump over there and give him a follow. He has some pretty. I think they're taking a break on the Blood on the Clock Tower stuff, but
his last Twitch video was like 3 years ago. So
his last Twitch, he was on Twitch not that long ago. He might not be doing his broadcast, but he was on like last week.
I was on. I clicked the videos, and there's the last video was 3 years ago.
Oh, weird. He's been on pretty actively. I don't know why it's showing 3 years ago. Because he was just on like.
Oh, I see some last month. Never mind. I just filtered it down to past broadcasts, and there's a few last month. So.
Yeah. He does like his thing has been very much about like building stories around multiple episodes of that. Hey, Alex. About multiple episodes of Blood on the Clock Tower. So that's a super fun game. If you haven't played Blood on the Clock Tower, I recommend taking a look at it. It's pretty fun. It's got a lot of nuances to it that make it a pretty awesome like group board game. I'd like to see if I could get a few people in a streaming environment to go through the rules of it and get a game going. I think that would be pretty fun. Yeah. I think that's about it. I think we generally end with what we've been playing recently. So Bart, I think you've been doing a lot of like grinding on Final Fantasy to try to get the last of those extreme mounts.
Yeah, I gotta get a couple more. I only have 2 extreme mounts still for the current extremes, and then I gotta finish get my last 4 90 classes.
Yep.
Other than that, I think I might actually start a 16 playthrough. It's coming up soon.
Nice. And then you finished Persona, right?
I have not finished Persona. I will probably finish it this Saturday. It would have been finished last week, but I got sick a couple weeks ago, so I had some.
And then some streaming. When are we expecting the next Swole's Souls?
I might actually. So I was starting that, so I might continue that. We'll see what I'm feeling, what I'm doing. I might swap Final Fantasy 14 to just 1 day a week for now, and split my time between 16 and a full new 16 playthrough, and continue my Elden Ring Daggers only playthrough. Doing it, continuing that as Souls like.
Good old Souls like. I have been playing a metric F ton of Dave the Diver. If you've not played Dave the Diver, that game is so cozy and awesome. I got it on my Switch. It's great to travel with. It's been great to sit at the soccer fields with the kids and just play a little Dave the Diver while the kids are playing soccer. I've been playing a little bit of Triangle Strat. Again, I've been playing a lot of cozy Switch games, or a lot of Switch in general games. And And yeah, Thousand Year Door remake's going to be coming out soon. That's going to be awesome too. And then I did start a Final Fantasy VII playthrough on stream a couple weeks ago. We'll be picking that up again probably tomorrow. So that'll be fun. And then I've been playing in private a little bit of the Inscription replay, which is also super fun if you've never played that. I do think the rumor is, for those who've never played Dave the Diver, that Dave the Diver is coming to PlayStation Plus as a free game. So if you haven't played, I do highly recommend it. It's very cozy. It's very fun. You play as a guy who literally dives for fish and then runs a sushi shop. And that's, I mean, there's more to it than that, but
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Very cozy, very fun. I'm in Endgame right now where I'm just fucking around, which is super fun. I did watch a ton of anime this week. We've been working on trying to get the shop up and running. So we've been doing some design work, and I've been watching some anime, which has been a lot of my time. Just finished season 1 of Mashal, which was very good. If you, we had this discussion last night, Bar, for a little bit.
I started JJK.
Did you? Yes.
I have only watched the first episode. I meant to watch the second episode yesterday, and then like time got away from me.
Okay.
And I ended up watching the new episode of Mushoku Tensei instead. But probably
Nice.
tonight I will watch the second episode of JJK.
So yeah, Mashal, to go back to Mashal, because Alex has seen Mashal, so he'll get this reference. It scratches the Black Clover meets One Punch Man vibes that I really wanted One Punch Man, and I really wanted more Black Clover, and it's just like a nice quality combination of those two things and made into a great anime of like a guy who has no magic, can perform no magic, but is so unbelievably brute strong that he just almost literally kills people who do magic at a very high level. It's so good. Super good. Definitely highly recommend. I also finished, I know Bard, you've seen all of this, is Solo Leveling.
Yes.
Which is, this first season is over and is very good. Did a very good job. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that dub. That was the both of those voices are very good, and I've actually been watching it in English as much as possible because I've been doing other things while I've been watching. It's been easier to watch.
Yeah. Alex actually hasn't finished Solo Leveling because the English dub for the last episode isn't out yet.
Yeah, I did watch the Japanese just to get through that. I needed to watch it, but I want your thoughts on JJK.
I mean, I'm only one episode in, right? I mean, I know a lot because I've been spoiled a lot on a lot of things just from JJK being such a meme.
Yeah.
But I mean, so far it looks pretty good. I mean, like the first episode had a good catch, right? It made you interested in the characters, right? It made you feel for was it Yuji? Itadori. What's his first name?
Yeah, Yuji.
Yeah, Yuji. I know the guy from Jujutsu Kai High School
Gojo?
No, the kid becomes like his best friend.
Oh yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't
Fukumuji, I think is what his name is.
I don't think his name has been dropped.
It has.
Yeah,
it's
in the
Fuka.
well in the first episode. I don't think he said his name. He the one who just like summons a bunch of familiars.
Yeah, no, they dropped his name pretty early.
Oh yeah, I don't remember them saying it in the. But I mean, like it was a good hook of just being like of just seeing Gojo and just being like opening with like you're gonna get executed, and then like it doesn't even end there. Like you have to watch like until like episode 2 or 3 until it gets to the point where you actually see where he's at that point, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, be careful, Alex. That's some yeah, Megumi Fushiguro. Yeah,
I remember his name as Megumi. I know so many spoilers, dude. Like especially because I know
pretty early.
Well, I know manga spoilers, so I mean, like, I don't know where they're at in the anime. I could say something right now and you could be like, "Whoa, that's spoilers for me." I don't know.
So, yeah. Well, I mean,
Like,
yeah.
I know Gojo dies.
It that okay. Yep. Okay.
I I've
Um,
I have so many spoilers for like everything always in my head of like things I haven't watched or read just because
yeah.
YouTube hates me and it's just like, hey, here you're caught up on everything, right? Everything always all at once.
I'm caught up on the current stuff.
Yeah, I don't know where the anime is, so I don't know if what I said is anime spoilers or not.
Yeah. The anime, yeah, we were talking about this last night with a friend of mine. The anime is in season 2. They finished season 2, and they are, for all intents and purposes, halfway through where the manga is. So in theory, they could do 2 more seasons of JJK.
Well,
At
the manga's not
least
over either.
one. What? Yeah, the manga's not over. They're still working on the manga. So, like, if it takes them another year to get another season of JJK out, that gives the manga another year to process out more episodes, which I think would put them clearly at like 4 seasons of
Yeah,
anime.
the next Demon Slayer arc I'm excited for. I'm interested to see what they're gonna do, because the next arc is kind of like, from the manga at least, isn't really an arc, right? It's a training arc. It's a kind of short, and then you jump right into the final arc, right off of that. So I'm interested to see what they're gonna do. If this is gonna be like a 2-part season, if it's gonna be really long. I think they might do what they did with the Mugen Train entirely, like subjugate the training arc to its own short arc. And I know they released it as a movie in Japan already, just like they did with Mugen Train. We haven't gotten it in the West though. So I'm interested to see if they're gonna like do the same thing and just make that arc that's a shorter one its own like contained thing separate, and then release the actual season separate, like they did with the what was the Entertainment District. So
Yep.
Entertainment District is so good. But yeah, I kind of feel like that they might do that. But even then, the final arc itself is long enough; it could be 2 seasons, which would suck if they just like cut it like
Yeah.
they cut it at like the middle, super like cliffhanger, and it's just like, well, 2 years from now you'll get it. All right, I think we're at the end of our conversation stuff. So yeah, we don't rate out on these.
Nope.
And hope to see you guys next week.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great night. And yeah, see you next week. We should have.
Bye.
Hopefully, we'll have Biggie next week. He was supposed to be tonight and then bailed on us, but it's fine. Biggie, we love you. We'll see you hopefully next week. All right, guys. Have a good night.